What if I told you there's one kind of person that a narcissist can't control, one person who makes the narcissist feel small, powerless, and exposed, and that person might be you. Hey family, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, you're not here by mistake. You were meant to hear this. Today, we're diving into a powerful truth. Only a super empath or a chosen one can truly destroy a narcissist. Not with violence, not with shouting, but with truth, light, and love. You see, narcissists feed on control. They lie, they manipulate, and they wear masks to fool people. But super empaths, chosen ones, they see through the mask straight into the heart. And when that happens, the game is over. In this video, I'm going to break down 16 deep reasons why you might be that chosen one, why narcissists fear you, and how your calm spirit can shake their entire fake world. So, before we go deeper, show some love. Tap that like button, subscribe if you feel called, and join this beautiful growing family. We're all about healing, truth, and spiritual growth here. Stay with me till the end, because if you've ever felt too emotional, too intense, or too different, this video might just prove you're not too much. You're exactly who you were meant to be. Let's begin. What if I told you the one person a narcissist fears the most isn't loud, aggressive, or controlling, but deeply empathic? Yes, it's true. The quiet ones, the soft-spoken ones, the ones who feel deeply and care a lot. Those are the ones narcissists fear the most. Why? Because their strength is silent but powerful. They don't need to scream or fight to win. They just know. And that knowing scares the narcissist. Narcissists love attention. They love to be in control. They lie, twist stories, and make others feel confused or weak. But when they meet a super empath, a person who feels deeply, sees clearly, and loves truth, they get nervous. Super empaths don't fall for the lies. They don't play games. They can feel when something is wrong, even if no one says a word. That's the silent power. Imagine someone who walks into a room and can sense the emotions of everyone there. They don't speak much, but they understand everything. They're like emotional detectives. Narcissists wear masks to hide who they really are, but empaths can see past those masks. They sense the pain, the lies, the manipulation, and they stay calm. That calmness, it shakes the narcissist, because narcissists want reactions. They want drama. But when the empath doesn't react, doesn't fall into the trap, it ruins the narcissist's plan. They feel exposed, powerless, and slowly their fake world starts to fall apart. Super empaths don't fight fire with fire. They fight it with peace, clarity, and truth. They set boundaries. They walk away. And when they do, they leave the narcissist stuck, with no one left to fool. The narcissist never saw it coming. They expected someone weak, but they met someone wise, and that is the power that destroys them without saying a single word. Super empaths and chosen ones are often seen as the rare individuals who possess a deep sensitivity to the emotions, energies, and situations around them. They are intuitive and spiritually gifted beings, able to tap into a realm of understanding that others may not perceive. These individuals are not just empathetic in the usual sense of the word. They feel everything on a profound level, often to a degree that can be overwhelming. But this heightened sensitivity is what makes them so powerful and unique. At their core, super empaths are individuals who can deeply sense the emotions and needs of others, almost like a radar picking up signals that are invisible to most people. They have a natural ability to understand what others are going through without needing to be told. This connection goes beyond the surface level, allowing them to pick up on unspoken thoughts, feelings, and even hidden motives. They can sense when someone is lying, when someone is hurting, or when someone is simply pretending to be something they're not. Chosen ones, often linked to spiritual and mystical traditions, are beings who are believed to be destined for a higher purpose. They are deeply connected to the universe, often feeling as though they are part of something much larger than themselves. This connection allows them to see things from a broader, more spiritual perspective. They don't just see the world as it is, they can glimpse its deeper truths. They are sometimes referred to as light bearers because their presence and energy seem to illuminate the darkness around them, revealing hidden truths. What makes super empaths and chosen ones different from others is not just their ability to feel deeply, but also their capacity to see everything. This isn't limited to physical sight. It extends to an intuitive perception of the world, people's energies, and even situations that others may miss. They can read the emotional atmosphere in a room or sense when something is off, even when there's no overt sign. This ability gives them the rare gift of understanding the truth behind the lies and masks that people wear. However, their gifts aren't just about perception. They also carry a spiritual responsibility. Super empaths and chosen ones often feel a calling to guide, heal, or protect others. While their sensitivity allows them to deeply connect with people's pain, it also allows them to offer comfort, wisdom, and support. They're often seen as spiritual warriors, fighting against negativity and helping others heal and grow. But this calling can be both a blessing and a burden, as their heightened awareness can leave them feeling vulnerable to the pain and suffering around them. Super empaths have a gift that most people don't understand. While others get fooled by pretty words and fake smiles, empaths feel something deeper. They may smile back, stay calm, or even go along with things for a while, but deep inside they know, they sense when something isn't real, even if the person talking sounds sweet or looks perfect. Narcissists are good at playing roles. At first, they act like they adore you. They give compliments, make big promises, and shower you with attention. This is called love bombing. It feels exciting, even magical, like a dream. But a super empath doesn't get fully pulled in. Something inside them stays alert, and they might not know why at first, but they feel it. Something is off. This is the power of intuition. Empaths can read between the lines, or more like, read between the lies. When a narcissist is hiding their true intentions, the empath can feel the emptiness behind their words. The tone might be right, the timing might be perfect, but the energy, the feeling behind the charm, it's wrong, it's heavy, it's fake. And once that realization hits, the game begins to shift. While others might stay trapped in the narcissist's web for years, the super empath begins to pull away. Quietly, strongly. They ask questions, observe closely, and stop giving emotional energy to the manipulator. And this silence drives the narcissist mad. Why? Because they can't figure out what the empath is thinking. The super empath's calm is confusing, their distance is disturbing, and their ability to see through the mask is terrifying for the narcissist. Because once an empath stops believing the lies, they become impossible to control. And when a narcissist loses control, they lose power. That's why the super empath is a threat, because no matter how good the act is, they always feel the truth. Super empaths become mirrors. Narcissists see their own emptiness reflected back, and they hate it. Super empaths don't even try to expose narcissists, they just exist. And that's enough. Why? Because empaths are like spiritual mirrors. They don't have to say much. They don't have to fight. Just by being themselves, honest, kind, full of feeling, they silently show the truth. Narcissists, on the other hand, are full of masks. They pretend to be confident, kind, successful, or even spiritual, but deep inside there's something missing. There's a deep emptiness they carry, a part of them they've hidden, even from themselves. And when they meet a super empath, that mask starts to crack. The empath's light makes the narcissist's darkness visible. The empath's honesty makes the narcissist's lies obvious. The empath's peace makes the narcissist's chaos uncomfortable. It's like standing in front of a mirror that shows who you really are, not who you pretend to be. That's what the super empath does. Without even trying, they make the narcissist face themselves. And narcissists don't want that. They run from truth. They hide behind fake stories and fake confidence. But the empath's energy pulls those lies out into the open. Here's the twist. Narcissists are often drawn to empaths in the beginning. They admire their kindness, their calm energy, their ability to love deeply. But soon that admiration turns into fear and hate, because the closer they get, the more they feel seen, not in a good way, but in a way that makes them uncomfortable. The super empath doesn't even have to speak. Their silence is loud, their presence is powerful, and their ability to reflect truth, that's what destroys the narcissist's illusion. It's not revenge, it's not drama, it's just truth, shown clearly in the mirror of an empath's soul. And that is what the narcissist cannot stand. Their curiosity pierces through the narcissist's fake persona. A simple, "Why do you feel that way?" becomes a weapon of truth. Super empaths have a unique power that often goes unnoticed by the narcissist until it's too late. They know how to ask the right questions. Unlike most people who might feel overwhelmed or confused by the narcissist's manipulation, empaths approach the situation with calm curiosity. They don't get caught up in the narcissist's drama, but instead, they ask questions that cut straight to the heart of the issue. Questions like, "Why do you feel that way?" or "What are you really trying to say?" might seem simple, but for the narcissist, they are anything but. To the narcissist, these questions are dangerous. Narcissists thrive on control, on making others believe their version of reality, and they expect people to follow along without questioning. But when an empath asks questions, especially questions that challenge the narcissist's narrative, it causes cracks in the armor. Narcissists are masters of deflection, but empaths know how to get to the root of the problem. They don't demand answers, they simply pose a gentle question that forces the narcissist to confront their own behavior. And that's exactly what narcissists can't stand. These questions are not just simple inquiries, they are weapons of truth. When an empath asks, "Why do you feel that way?" they're not looking for a surface-level response. Instead, they're inviting the narcissist to dig deeper, to examine their own emotions and motives. And this is where the narcissist's control begins to slip. They're so used to avoiding self-reflection that they become disoriented when faced with it. The narcissist doesn't want to examine their feelings because doing so would require admitting their flaws, weaknesses, and the fact that their carefully constructed image is just that, an image, not a reality. Asking these probing questions exposes the narcissist's inner emptiness. Narcissists often manipulate others by projecting a sense of superiority, but when asked simple questions that challenge their worldview, they are forced to question their own actions. This is something narcissists cannot handle because, deep down, they know their sense of self-worth is fragile. The moment they are forced to confront their insecurities, their entire sense of control begins to unravel. The empath doesn't need to fight or argue. They simply hold up a mirror through their questions, and the narcissist has no choice but to look at the truth. What's powerful about the super empath's questions is their ability to remain calm and patient. They don't need to raise their voice or make a scene. The empath's quiet, gentle probing is what throws the narcissist off balance. It's not aggression that breaks through their facade, but the calm, persistent questioning that reveals their contradictions and exposes their lies. In a world where narcissists often manipulate and control through charm, aggression, or silence, the super empath's curiosity acts like a light in the darkness. It forces the narcissist to see themselves, and that is more powerful than any confrontation. So the next time you find yourself questioning a narcissist's behavior, remember that even a simple question, "Why do you feel that way?" could be the one that makes their world start to crumble. Super empaths don't react, they respond. And that emotional stability drives narcissists insane. One of the most powerful traits of a super empath is their ability to remain calm under pressure. While the narcissist thrives on chaos, drama, and emotional reactions from others, the empath's ability to stay emotionally stable is something narcissists can't stand. It's not that the empath doesn't feel deeply, they feel everything. But instead of reacting impulsively, they choose to respond thoughtfully. This ability to maintain calmness in the face of manipulation, gaslighting, or emotional turmoil is like a superpower that destabilizes the narcissist's world. Narcissists live off the energy of others. They feed on reactions, whether it's love, anger, admiration, or even hatred. For them, any emotional response is better than no response at all. They want to be the center of attention, the focus of all energy and emotion in the room. So, when they push someone's buttons, they expect a reaction. They expect a fight, an outburst, or a breakdown. But when they encounter a super empath, they get the complete opposite. They get nothing, and this drives them absolutely mad. Super empaths don't engage in emotional battles. They don't scream back when attacked or cry when hurt. Instead, they pause, take a deep breath, and think before they respond. They don't let their emotions take control of the situation. This level of emotional stability is what makes them such a threat to narcissists. Narcissists can't understand it. How can someone remain calm when they're being lied to, manipulated, or insulted? It confuses them. It's like trying to poke a stone with a needle and expecting it to react. The empath's calmness creates an invisible shield that the narcissist can't break through. When a narcissist tries to provoke an empath, they quickly realize that their usual tactics aren't working. The more the narcissist pushes, the more the empath remains steady. This steady, calm response is like a mirror reflecting the narcissist's own instability. Narcissists can't handle being faced with their own chaotic behavior, especially when it's met with silence or measured words. It forces them to confront something they avoid at all costs, their own weakness. Narcissists are used to people reacting in ways that fuel their sense of superiority. When the empath doesn't react, they lose their power. They are left in a space where they can't control the empath's emotions, and that loss of control is terrifying. For the narcissist, emotional control is everything. When they can't get a reaction, they feel like they're losing their grip on the situation, and that makes them feel weak. The calmness of a super empath triggers chaos in the narcissist's mind. They might escalate the situation, become more aggressive, or even resort to emotional manipulation in an attempt to get a rise out of the empath. But no matter how hard they try, the empath remains grounded. This emotional stability, the ability to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively, is what makes the empath a true force to be reckoned with. And it's this strength that often leaves the narcissist feeling exposed, powerless, and in the end, defeated. Their energy naturally reveals toxic patterns. Narcissists can't hide in their presence for long. The chosen one is more than just a spiritually aware person. They carry with them an inherent energy that shines brightly, even in the darkest places. This light, though subtle, has a unique ability to expose the hidden toxicity in people and situations, especially narcissists. Narcissists thrive on secrecy, manipulation, and deceit, carefully curating an image that hides their true nature. But the moment they are in the presence of someone with genuine, awakened energy, like the chosen one, their illusions begin to crack. The chosen one has a special kind of light, one that isn't always visible in a literal sense, but felt deeply by those around them. It's the kind of energy that feels warm, authentic, and unapologetically true. This energy is magnetic. It draws people in and makes them feel seen, heard, and understood. But for narcissists, this kind of authenticity is a threat. Their entire existence revolves around hiding their insecurities, maintaining control, and manipulating others into seeing them as perfect. The presence of the chosen one cuts through these facades like a sword, exposing the truth of who they really are. Narcissists build their lives around false narratives and toxic behavior patterns. They rely on creating confusion, controlling emotions, and making others feel uncertain about what's real. But the light of the chosen one doesn't allow for such illusions. It naturally highlights the toxic behaviors that narcissists try to hide, whether it's their emotional manipulation, their need for constant validation, or their selfish actions. The chosen one's energy doesn't need to confront the narcissist head-on to expose these behaviors. It simply reveals them by virtue of its presence. Narcissists who thrive on the darkness of manipulation can't operate under this kind of clarity. For the narcissist, being around a chosen one is like standing in front of a spotlight that won't turn off. They can't hide in the shadows anymore. Every word they speak, every action they take is under scrutiny. The more the narcissist tries to manipulate or control the situation, the more their true colors show. It's like their mask slowly begins to slip, revealing the emptiness they've tried so hard to conceal. The chosen one's light acts as a mirror, reflecting the narcissist's darkness back at them, and forcing them to confront the very things they've been hiding from for so long. This doesn't mean the chosen one goes around pointing out the flaws of others. In fact, they rarely say anything at all. Their mere presence is enough to expose what's hidden. Narcissists might react to this light by becoming defensive, angry, or even more manipulative, but deep down, they know they're being exposed, and that exposure is what terrifies them the most. Narcissists are used to operating in the dark, where they can manipulate, deceive, and control without fear of being seen for who they really are. But the chosen one's energy disrupts this darkness, and in doing so, forces the narcissist to confront their truth. The longer the narcissist is around this light, the more they begin to unravel. Their lies can only be hidden for so long when someone with such powerful energy is nearby, and that is why the chosen one is one of the most dangerous forces a narcissist can encounter. They can't hide from the truth when the light is shining directly on them. Unlike trauma-bonded victims, super empaths choose peace over chaos, even if it hurts. One of the most defining traits of a super empath is their unwavering ability to walk away from toxic relationships, even when it's the hardest decision they'll ever make. Super empaths understand that their peace of mind is more valuable than any false attachment or momentary comfort that comes from a manipulative or narcissistic relationship. Unlike trauma-bonded victims who may feel trapped by emotional ties or fear of abandonment, super empaths prioritize their inner peace and healing, even if it means leaving behind people who once meant a lot to them. In toxic relationships, especially with narcissists, emotional bonds can create an intense internal struggle. Narcissists are skilled at creating dependency, using tactics like gaslighting, manipulation, and love bombing to keep their victims attached. The result is often a trauma bond, an emotional connection that feels almost impossible to break, even when the person knows deep down that they are being hurt. This bond can feel suffocating, making victims believe that they can't live without the narcissist, or that they'll never find someone else who will love them in the same way. But a super empath is different. They know that true love doesn't come with strings attached, and that real connections are built on respect, understanding, and mutual care, not manipulation. When a super empath realizes that a relationship has become toxic, they don't hesitate to walk away. They recognize that staying in the chaos will only drain their energy and perpetuate the toxic cycle. It's not that they don't care, they feel deeply for others, but they know that they can't heal someone who doesn't want to change. Narcissists, often entrenched in their patterns of control and self-obsession, rarely offer the kind of growth or understanding that the super empath needs to flourish. So, rather than staying in an unhealthy situation out of guilt, fear, or attachment, they choose to walk away to protect their mental and emotional well-being. Walking away from a narcissist can be one of the hardest decisions a super empath will ever make. Narcissists will often try to gaslight the empath into believing they're making a mistake, or that they're being selfish or overreacting. But the super empath has learned to trust their intuition and inner guidance. They know that staying in the relationship would only lead to more emotional turmoil, and they choose peace instead of chaos, even if it hurts. This ability to walk away shows strength, courage, and self-respect. It takes immense emotional intelligence to recognize when a relationship is doing more harm than good, and even more strength to make the decision to let go. It's not about running away from conflict, it's about choosing a healthier, more peaceful path. The super empath knows that they are worthy of love, respect, and harmony, and they refuse to settle for anything less. In choosing peace over chaos, super empaths not only protect themselves, but they also set a powerful example for others. By walking away, they show that it's possible to break free from toxic dynamics, reclaim personal power, and find a path to true happiness and fulfillment. They know that their energy is precious, and that no relationship, no matter how deeply they once cared for someone, should ever steal their peace of mind. Narcissists thrive on control. Super empaths disengage and disrupt the cycle entirely. Narcissists are masters of control. They thrive on manipulating people, situations, and emotions to maintain their sense of superiority and power. Every interaction with a narcissist is part of a carefully crafted game designed to keep them in charge. Whether it's playing on someone's emotions, creating drama, or constantly shifting the narrative to their advantage, narcissists rely on the reactions of others to keep them in the driver's seat. But super empaths don't play the game. They don't get swept up in the narcissist's chaos or emotional manipulation. Instead, they disengage entirely, disrupting the cycle of control and emotional turmoil that the narcissist is so dependent on. The narcissist's goal is always to maintain dominance. They will use a variety of tactics: gaslighting, emotional blackmail, guilt-tripping, and even love bombing to keep people attached to them, under their control. The more the empath reacts, the more the narcissist can manipulate the situation. But super empaths have learned the art of disengagement. They recognize that any emotional reaction they give to the narcissist's tactics only feeds into the cycle of manipulation. So rather than reacting emotionally, they choose to step back and refuse to engage in the toxic dynamics. By disengaging, the super empath doesn't give the narcissist the reaction they crave. Narcissists thrive on the highs and lows of drama, on the tension, the emotional roller coaster, and the sense of chaos that they can control. When the empath refuses to play into these emotional swings, it throws the narcissist off balance. They no longer have a reliable source of emotional energy to feed off of, and this disrupts their entire sense of control. The narcissist's attempts to provoke or manipulate fall flat, leaving them feeling exposed and powerless. For the super empath, disengagement is not about running away or avoiding conflict. It's about choosing a higher path. It's about recognizing that the narcissist's game is one that they don't need to participate in. Instead of being drawn into arguments or power struggles, the super empath stands firm in their emotional autonomy. They choose peace, clarity, and self-respect over the emotional chaos the narcissist tries to create. This ability to disengage entirely is one of the most powerful tools that super empaths have in breaking free from toxic relationships. They don't need to win the fight or have the last word. They don't need to prove the narcissist wrong or expose their lies. They simply walk away from the game altogether, leaving the narcissist with no one to play with. In doing so, they break the cycle of emotional manipulation and control, setting themselves free from the toxic grip the narcissist has tried to hold over them. By refusing to engage in the narcissist's game, super empaths take back their power. They no longer allow themselves to be pawns in someone else's emotional chess match. Instead, they reclaim their own sense of peace, control, and self-worth. And in doing so, they disrupt the very foundation of the narcissist's ability to thrive on manipulation and control. Their authenticity is a constant reminder of everything the narcissist pretends to be. Super empaths have an innate ability to be completely authentic and true to themselves, which can be both a blessing and a curse, especially when interacting with narcissists. Narcissists thrive on creating a facade, an image of perfection that they project to the world in order to gain admiration, validation, and control. However, deep inside, they are plagued by deep insecurities and feelings of inadequacy. This is where the super empath's authenticity becomes their most powerful weapon. The very essence of the super empath's being is rooted in genuine self-expression, vulnerability, and emotional transparency. They don't hide behind masks or false personas. They allow themselves to feel, to be open, and to show their true selves without fear. And this can be incredibly unsettling for a narcissist. Narcissists are constantly crafting illusions of superiority, power, and self-sufficiency. They want to appear perfect and unbothered, masking the feelings of deep insecurity and fear that they are constantly trying to outrun. But the super empath, by simply being real, forces the narcissist to confront everything they're trying to hide. When the super empath interacts with a narcissist, their authenticity becomes a mirror that reflects the narcissist's insecurities. The narcissist can't help but see the stark contrast between their carefully constructed image and the raw, unfiltered truth the empath presents. This stark difference triggers the narcissist's deepest fears: fear of being exposed as flawed, fear of being seen as weak, and fear of not being enough. The super empath's confidence in being themselves is a constant reminder of the narcissist's inability to truly embrace their own vulnerability. or imperfections. The narcissist's reaction to this authenticity is often one of defensiveness, anger, or even hatred. They can't stand the idea that someone else is unafraid to show their true self while they are desperately trying to maintain an illusion of perfection. The narcissist may resort to tactics like belittling, criticizing, or devaluing the empath in an attempt to diminish their authenticity and keep them from triggering these deep insecurities. But no matter how hard they try, the presence of the super empath continues to expose the cracks in their armor. For the narcissist, the super empath's authenticity is a reminder of everything they wish they could be but can't. It's a constant source of discomfort because it highlights their own inability to be real, to be vulnerable, and to embrace their flaws. This is what makes the super empath such a powerful force. By simply being themselves, they expose the narcissist's weaknesses and insecurities in a way that no direct confrontation ever could. And that makes the narcissist feel threatened and ultimately exposed. The super empath's ability to trigger the narcissist's insecurities doesn't mean they set out to hurt the narcissist. It's just a natural consequence of their ability to be fully authentic. By living in their truth, the super empath shows the narcissist that it's okay to be imperfect, to be human. But for the narcissist who has built their entire identity on falsehoods, this truth can feel like a threat that they can't handle. In the end, the narcissist's deepest insecurities will always be triggered by the super empath's authenticity. It's the one thing they can't control, and that's what makes the empath such a powerful force in their lives. Narcissists operate in fear and ego. Empaths live in truth and spirit. They're simply on another frequency. At the core of every interaction there is energy, the subtle vibrations that we give off consciously or unconsciously. Narcissists and super empaths are operating on entirely different frequencies, and it's this difference that makes them fundamentally incompatible. Narcissists are driven by their ego, and their lives are centered around fear. Fear of being exposed, fear of not being enough, and fear of losing control. These fears manifest in their behavior, creating a pattern of manipulation, arrogance, and emotional exploitation. The narcissist thrives on creating a sense of superiority, but this superiority is hollow and fragile, built on a foundation of insecurity. In contrast, super empaths live in a completely different energetic space. They are deeply connected to their true selves, grounded in truth, and driven by a higher spiritual understanding. Their energy is aligned with compassion, empathy, and an unshakable sense of inner peace. This connection to their higher self allows them to operate on a higher vibration, one that transcends fear and ego. The super empath's energy radiates from a place of authenticity and spiritual awareness, creating a stark contrast to the narcissist's fear-driven behavior. This difference in frequency is what makes the super empath almost impossible to control for a narcissist. Narcissists thrive in environments where they can manipulate emotions, control narratives, and fuel their own ego. They seek validation from others and prey on people's insecurities and vulnerabilities. They often use guilt, shame, and emotional manipulation to get what they want. However, a super empath's high vibration doesn't fall into this trap. They don't engage in power struggles or feed into the narcissist's attempts at control. Instead, they rise above the chaos, remaining centered in their truth and maintaining emotional balance. A super empath's ability to remain calm, grounded, and emotionally stable is a direct result of their higher vibrational frequency. Narcissists often react to this with confusion or frustration. They can't understand how the empath doesn't react to their tactics. The more the narcissist tries to control the super empath, the more they realize they can't influence them. The empath simply doesn't engage in the same way. Instead of sinking into the narcissist's fear-based energy, the super empath remains focused on their inner truth, creating a powerful shield of spiritual protection. This high vibrational frequency also allows super empaths to see through the narcissist's facade. Narcissists are constantly projecting false images of themselves, but super empaths can sense the truth beneath the surface. They are able to discern the narcissist's hidden insecurities and manipulations, which further strengthens their ability to resist control. In the presence of a super empath, A narcissist's tactics fall flat because the empath is vibrating at a frequency that is simply too high for the narcissist's fear and ego to penetrate. Once aware, a super empath cannot be gaslit. They reclaim their narrative and set powerful boundaries. One of the narcissist's most commonly used tactics is gaslighting, manipulating someone into doubting their own reality, memory, or perceptions. For narcissists, gaslighting is a tool for maintaining control, making the target question their own sanity or self-worth. Narcissists will twist the truth, deny facts, and present a distorted version of events to confuse their victim and undermine their confidence. This emotional manipulation keeps people under their thumb, dependent on the narcissist's version of reality. But this tactic doesn't work on super empaths. Once they become aware of the narcissist's manipulations, they are no longer susceptible to the same psychological games. Their heightened emotional intelligence and intuitive abilities allow them to recognize gaslighting when it happens, making them immune to its effects. Super empaths are deeply connected to their own emotions, thoughts, and perceptions. They trust themselves and their instincts, which makes it almost impossible for the narcissist to distort their reality. When a super empath experiences gaslighting, they don't doubt themselves. They recognize it for what it is: manipulation. The more aware they become of the narcissist's patterns, the less power the narcissist holds over them. Instead of getting lost in the confusion or becoming defensive, the super empath stands firm in their truth. They don't need to prove themselves to the narcissist because they've already recognized that the narcissist's version of events is a lie. This newfound clarity allows the super empath to reclaim their narrative. No longer does the narcissist get to control the story. The super empath begins to set clear boundaries, refusing to engage in any more emotional manipulation. Super empaths recognize the pain behind the mask, but know healing is a personal journey, not their burden. Super empaths have a unique ability to perceive the underlying pain of others. Their intuitive nature and deep sensitivity allow them to see beyond a person's words and actions, to understand the emotional wounds that shape their behavior. This ability is especially evident when they interact with narcissists. Super empaths can often sense the deep-rooted insecurity, trauma, and emotional neglect that drive the narcissist's need for validation, control, and superiority. Narcissists, by their very nature, hide behind a mask of arrogance and grandiosity. They seek admiration, power, and dominance to fill the empty void inside them, a void that was likely created by past wounds, be it childhood neglect, emotional abuse, or rejection. The super empath, with their keen perception, can intuitively understand these hidden struggles. They may see the narcissist's defensiveness as a shield against vulnerability, the constant need for admiration as an attempt to fill an emotional void, or the manipulative behavior as a way to regain a sense of control over a world that feels unsafe. While many people may only see the narcissist's behavior on the surface, self-centeredness, arrogance, or cruelty, the super empath can sense the unresolved hurt beneath the surface. They understand that the narcissist's actions are often a result of their past pain and unmet needs. Despite recognizing the narcissist's wounds, super empaths don't try to heal them. This is where many people, especially those with a nurturing nature, often make a mistake. They see the pain in others and feel compelled to fix it. However, super empaths understand that healing is a personal journey, one that must be taken by the individual themselves. They recognize that they cannot take on the narcissist's burden, no matter how much they feel empathy for their suffering. The narcissist's wounds are not theirs to heal. The super empath knows that trying to heal someone who is not ready or willing to heal themselves is not only exhausting, but ultimately futile. Narcissists, by their nature, resist help. They are often in denial about their own pain or unwilling to confront their vulnerabilities. For the narcissist, acknowledging their wounds would mean admitting weakness, and this is something they cannot do. They would rather continue to live in their mask of superiority, even if it means pushing people away or causing harm in the process. Trying to help them heal would require them to drop the facade, something the narcissist is unwilling to do. By breaking free themselves, they become examples Others begin waking up too. Super empaths have an incredible ability to break free from the narcissist's manipulative grip, and in doing so they become powerful examples for others who are still trapped in toxic relationships. The narcissist thrives on control, on keeping people emotionally tied to them through manipulation, guilt, and fear. When a super empath recognizes these tactics and breaks free, it sends a powerful message to everyone around them. It is possible to break free from the chains of narcissistic manipulation. The narcissist's power over others is largely rooted in isolation. They isolate their victims emotionally, making them feel that no one else will understand or believe them. Narcissists use tactics like gaslighting, emotional blackmail, and guilt-tripping to keep their victims in a state of confusion, self-doubt, and emotional dependency. Over time, the victim becomes so entangled in the narcissist's web of lies and manipulation that they feel powerless to escape. They believe they are somehow at fault or unable to make it on their own. But when a super empath manages to break free, they do more than just escape. They set an example. Their journey to freedom becomes a beacon of hope for others who are still in the narcissist's grip. As super empaths begin to heal, reclaim their self-worth, and set boundaries, they show others that freedom is not only possible, but it's within reach. Their transformation proves that it is possible to reclaim one's life from the emotional chaos the narcissist creates. When a super empath walks away with clarity and dignity, the narcissist loses control and often begins to self-destruct. The narcissist's entire existence is built on control over themselves, their environment, and the people they interact with. They thrive on manipulation, emotional abuse, and power games. Their sense of self-worth is fragile, constantly propped up by the admiration, validation, and fear they generate in others. To the narcissist, their supply of attention and control is everything. Without it, they are nothing. This is where the super empath becomes a game changer. When a super empath decides to walk away from a narcissist, the dynamics of power shift dramatically. The narcissist has relied on their ability to manipulate, gaslight, and control the super empath.